Yo, what's up? I'm Rue. Just wanted to talk about it while it's still very fresh in my mind, as I am driving away from Fort Bragg right now, and actually heading on a road trip to Houston because it's where I always wanted to go. But as you know, with the Army, everything is just so restricted. It's hard to take leave sometimes, depending on what unit you're in. So now that I'm on terminal leave, I'm going to do this. And then the next month, I'm going to go to Japan for like 17 days. Something I've always wanted to do. But yeah, while it's fresh in my mind, no script, nothing. I just wanted to talk about my decision to leave the Army after 7 years of active duty service in the exact same location in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. Was temporarily Fort Liberty, and it switched back. But I'm not going to talk about the politics behind anything. I'm not going to talk about the presidents at the time. I'm not going to talk about the COVID shot stuff. Nothing political, just solely how it was and what it's like being in the Army. That's really it. Completely PG for anyone. And I won't get into specifics. I won't name names. Won't do any of that. Because it's really just talking about my experience. I don't need to bring all that stuff into it. But I joined the Army when I was 17 years old. So I was at the age of... I was a minor, so you couldn't join without getting your parent's signature, your parent or guardian signature. So my mom had to sign for me so I could join the Army. And even during that whole process, the school counselors would literally pull me into their office at high school and tell me how big of a mistake that I'm making, how I should just be going right to college. I shouldn't even be contemplating joining the military. And anytime my recruiter came to the school to get me to sign a document, because I would have to sign stuff for the enlistment process, they wouldn't even let him come in. They would stop him at the door, and they wouldn't let him come in. I used to literally sneak out of class when the teacher wasn't looking, or just say I'm gonna go use the bathroom, and I would leave to go meet him in the parking lot so I could sign some papers to join the Army. And I flat out thought that was ridiculous. I don't think college is a bad thing, but I also don't think it's the right answer for everybody. Some people might want to join the military, some might want to go to trade school, some might just have a job lined up and they just want to work after high school. But to pull a kid into your office when you're a career counselor at a high school and try to tell them that they're stupid and making a stupid decision to join the Army is just ridiculous and so unprofessional. But anyway, so right after graduating, I left in July. So graduated high school in June of 2017, joined the Army in July 2017, turned 18 years old in basic training. And that was a huge wake-up call for me, because before joining the Army, I never worked out, I never lifted weights, I never ran, I didn't do anything. I played League of Legends in my basement and watched anime all day, and that was my life. That's all I ever did. I never went outside. My parents would make me go outside for church stuff, and I would get so mad that I had church stuff to attend in summer, to where I had to leave my basement and leave my gaming setup. I'd be mad that they'd wake me up early. I used to sleep until 5 p.m. every day playing video games as a teenager, just being a loser. I will say, probably after graduating high school, you'll probably never get the opportunity to not feel guilty about staying up until 5 a.m. playing video games. Once you graduate high school, you start feeling guilty about that stuff, and you have different responsibilities. So I don't think there's too much wrong with getting it in while you can. I don't really regret those times. I do wish I started lifting earlier. That would have been nice. But yeah, turned 18 years old in basic training. Went to Fort Benning. I enlisted as a 13 Fox, a forward observer, fire support specialist, whatever they're calling it nowadays. Where it's an artillery job, and basically what you do is you're either like in like a little safe area calling in artillery fire using grid coordinates off a map, or you're like with the infantry team calling in artillery over the radio at certain targets. That's the job. Pretty cool, fun job when you actually got to do it. So going to basic after like no activity my whole life was hard. Like, it really was. Like, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are like, oh dude, basic training was so easy, blah blah, and looking back on it, it's not like it was the worst thing ever, but when you got like a basement dweller gremlin crawling out of his hole for the first time, it's a hard experience. And even before that, my recruiters were awesome. They would pick me up at high school, like might have been every Wednesday or something, and they would take me on runs and help me lose weight. Other than that, I'd jog on a treadmill in my basement. I ended up getting up to like an hour straight, and I would just do that, and that enabled me to lose just enough weight to where I could ship off to basic training. And then of course lost more weight there, having to work out all the time and eat certain foods and only eating at the right times. But it was a hard experience. As a completely undisciplined, chubby idiot, it was hard to show up at Fort Benning and go to basic training. And I would say most of my life I was hidden. Like, I could just hide in my basement, play video games, be on Discord or Skype. It was Skype when I was in high school. Just play video games with friends and just do nothing. I was invisible, and it's kind of depressing, but going to basic training was the first time I felt noticed. Like, if I was dragging behind on something, if I messed something up, the drill sergeants would get in my face and start screaming at me, saying my name. And like, the first time that happened, I was like so taken aback by the fact that like this guy's in my face yelling at me right now, like me. Like, I'm looking around like I'm watching a TV show or something, but no, it's reality. Like, he's in my face screaming at me because I'm not putting my rucksack together fast enough, you know? So that was a wake-up experience for me, and I was always so soft-spoken. I let people walk all over me, and the senior drill sergeant at the time, he was in the Marines, Air Force, and then Army. He couldn't make up his mind, I guess, but he was very hard on me, and at the time I thought he just hated my guts or something. Maybe he did, and I'd understand if he did, because I was such a dweeb. But he got in my face one day and had me just scream for like 10 minutes straight, like just screaming. I was like, sound off, scream, scream, and like, that's the first time in my entire life I ever raised my voice. It's the first time I was aggressive about something. So, like, and I think that like helped me grow up. I grew up so fast going through all this stuff. Like, I was terrified, man. My mom puked before I shipped off. I almost puked. I cried the night before. I was sitting in my basement watching Dragon Ball Super, and like, I started crying. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. So I was flat out terrified. But it was a good wake-up call. It helped me grow up. So I went through basic training, learned all the discipline, folding the bed sheets, drilling ceremony, shooting a weapon for the first time in my entire life. Which they say that the best shooters are people who learn right the first time. So if you show up to basic training never having shot a weapon before, you're probably going to be one of the best shots there. So yeah, I graduated from Fort Benning for basic training, and then I went to Fort Sill, Oklahoma for AIT, for my job as a forward observer. So that was different as well. I was a dumb kid. I didn't even know that women were in the Army. I know that's stupid and retarded, but like, I did no research into looking into stuff, and at my recruiting station there were no women. I'd never seen a woman in uniform ever. Basic training was all men at the time. This is before Fort Benning started allowing women, as far as I know. I started seeing a few there for like AIT and stuff towards the end of it, but for basic training wise, it was just men. So I only men in my whole basic training company. I only saw male soldiers everywhere. So I showed up to Fort Sill for AIT, and was the first time I saw female soldiers, and I remember standing in formation there, and it's like, is that a chick or just, because like she had short hair, so I couldn't really tell. And my buddy was like, "Yeah, you idiot, there's women in the Army," and I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. Experience is kind of weird though. It was still regulated. We weren't allowed to wear civilian clothes. Of course, you had to keep your hair a certain way, shave, all that. Wake up at certain times for PT. Even like when you were waiting for your class cycle to start, you were still doing PT every day. You could only have your phone in your room. Yeah, we got our phones for the first time. Basic training, we didn't have our phones at all, besides phone calls like once a month or something. So yeah, I got like a bit of a taste of freedom, a little bit. Was able to like go to the PX, like eat Taco Bell, go to a bowling alley, or go to the movie theater at Fort Sill, where they had one monitor or one TV. That was pretty funny. But so I knew joining the Army that I wanted to be airborne. Like, there was nothing else that I wanted to do other than going airborne. So when I saw the opportunity for an option 40 contract at my AIT that you could earn, I jumped on the opportunity, of course, because I wanted to be airborne. Like, if I knew I would pass airborne for sure. I would give it my all for the Ranger stuff, but it didn't work out, then it didn't work out, but I wanted airborne. So I ended up going to airborne school after graduating AIT. Airborne school is still historically like the exact same that it always has been. Like, you basically do all the same stuff, like all the training and all that. But being in that jump shed for over 8 hours, just rigged up, just sitting there, and you're getting that like uncomfortable, like cold sweat in the harness shed, which is, oh, it's gross. But yeah, eventually I got my 5 jumps in, graduated airborne school. Parents came up for the graduation, and that was pretty cool. So I was the first person in my family to go airborne. All the other people in the Army in my family, they never went airborne, so I was able to grab that for myself, so that was pretty cool. So after that, it was time for the RASP stuff, Ranger Assessment Selection Program. And I went there. I was trying my best to get into shape. I'd always go on runs on my own, like get my rucksack on and go on like little ruck runs and all that. So like I tried actively to get more in shape and all that. Eventually the program started, and it was hard. You know, the first day they had these, like, I think it was Rogue branded, actually, like these super long weighted worms, and we'd have to, they were heavy, man, they were heavy, and like everyone would have to be in line holding up a thing, and if anyone was like sagging, you know, okay, I gotta stop, this thing is like hitting the window on my car, so I gotta address that. Alright, sorry about that. So I literally had to duct tape that rubber piece down. As I was saying, so things started out with those gigantic Rogue weighted worms, and that was absolutely insane. They were super heavy. I kid you not, I was 18 years old, freaking out, no idea what was going on there. And one kid that I knew was starting to sag a lot, like with his part of the worm that he was holding. And one of the instructors literally like picked this dude up by his jacket and like threw him in front of everybody, and I just remember I was like freaking out. Like, I was just like, dude, that's insane. Like, it's freaking out. So go all the way through RASP, it's absolutely insane. Do all the land nav, poop in the woods, just the crazy stuff at Cole Range, got through all of that. And then towards the end, when freedom was in sight, just a few days before graduation, I had a stash of painkillers, like ibuprofen, that I was taking because my ankle was like super messed up after Cole Range. So taking the ibuprofen just helped me to like walk around. And the cab driver doing this thing, towards the end of the cycle that they do just for fun, or to just weed out people right before graduation, where they bring out contraband, where they just find, like, they say that they found it, like, in the ceiling or in lockers or under beds, like chips, cookies, pop, energy drinks, stuff we're not supposed to have. They, like, claim that, like, we had that in the barracks when we weren't supposed to. It was obviously just their stuff. They were just trying to see who would rat people out and who they could kick out before graduation. So we were, like, literally 3 hours into a smoke sesh, like, with the worms, push-ups, running around, whatever. And literally get ratted out by a friend next to me. I knew it was fake right away. I was like, this is so dumb. Like, it's obvious. Like, this is just a ploy. This is just, they're playing with us. And my friend at the time, like, started nudging me. He's like, yo, Rue, you got those painkillers. And keep in mind, I shared these painkillers with everybody. So, like, everyone used them. He's like, yo, you got those painkillers, you need to turn yourself in. And everyone's like, what? And they start talking about it. So I basically get thrown out front. And I'm like, okay, well, maybe if I just give them the painkillers, they'll just smoke me a bunch and we'll continue on. So go get the painkillers, bring it to the instructor, and it was the first time I ever failed at something in my life, really. Like, my first big failure moment. Got kicked out for ibuprofen. Just days before graduation. I mean, I still had the PT test remake to do, because I didn't pass push-ups the first time, because they were cheating me on them, to be completely honest. Like, I had the push-ups, and they just weren't giving me the number, and I was going to do the retake and whatever. Even then, I could just recycle, do it all again. Like, I would have kept trying. Yeah, so I got kicked out for the painkillers. Stupid. And then I got my phone back, and found out, that same day, that my great-grandma died. So we were very close. Like, I grew up with her. I'd go over there, like, every other weekend, and we'd play chess. She'd make amazing Mexican food, do all that stuff. So I remember just breaking down, bawling my eyes out in the open bay barracks there, the Raspberry at Fort Benning, and nobody asked me if I was okay. Nobody came by and checked on me. Nobody even acknowledged me. No one even looked at me. They just all just kept walking past me as I had my first taste of failure in my life. And get my phone back, and I'm like, all right, whatever, keep going. We'll do something. And found out my great-grandma died. And yeah, it just broke me. Tried to put in for, like, a Red Cross thing to get emergency leave to go home for the funeral, but the Army said no, absolutely not, because that's not a direct relative. So I just sat there on the rocks all day, not able to go to a super important family member's funeral for no reason at all. So, sat there in that transition area, which was literally like prison. Wear a uniform, sit out on the rocks all day in formation, treat you like utter trash, treat you like trash. The cadre's scoffing at you, calling you names. You get the leftover food at the DFAC. You're put on illegal details all day, pushing around like giant metal lockers off of other lockers at super dangerous heights, ran by other stupid cadre. Like, it was so illegal, it was so corrupt, and they just treated us like complete trash. It was horrible. Worst thing ever. Got in fights all the time. Just ridiculous. And I remember I was there with a good friend of mine, and the night before, I did my fire guard shift where I just sat at a desk for like an hour or two just to keep watch, I guess, just an old Army thing. And sat there waiting. I waited like over 15 minutes after my shift was done because my replacement never showed up, and I didn't know who it was. I didn't know who was supposed to replace me, but he never showed up. So I was like, all right, screw this, I'm going to bed. And because not my problem. Like, I'm not the one at fault here. I don't know who the guy is, but he didn't show up to his shift. Wrong answer, apparently. I was just supposed to sit there all night, I guess, because then the cadre came and blamed me for fire guard not being filled, even though I was at my whole shift. But the other guy never fessed up and said, like, hey, yeah, that was actually me. I didn't show up to my shift. Of course not. I was getting in trouble. So they were going to, like, Article 15 me for that, while I was basically in this prison camp, just waiting to get orders to go to a duty station. So, yeah, that was stupid. And finally, like, that day, we're sitting there, we're getting smoked. Stupidest thing ever. Getting smoked while they read our names off to let us go. Because why not try to smoke us one last time? Terrible. And I remember just panicking. They called my buddy's name. He was right next to me on the ground while we were, like, doing push-ups or whatever. And he was so relieved, but he looked at me all worried because I might have to stay there. Luckily, like, they weren't going in alphabetical order. They called my name, like, second to last. And the sigh of relief that I had that I could finally get out of here. I didn't know what was going to happen with Article 15. But, so that day, I packed my stuff, got on that bus, went to the airport, and flew into Fort Bragg. And thank God that ended up working out, because they didn't Article 15 me, because I was able to leave, and they didn't pursue me. So I got out of that, showed up to my first duty station in the 82nd. Yeah, and you know how the 82nd is. Living in barracks near Falcone Street on Ardennes. Did all the 82nd things that people do. Long story short, met some friends, got involved in bad stuff. I was a total idiot. Got out of that. Got really passionate into fitness. Started lifting for the first time in my life, like, properly. Ran a lot. And then something happened. I was one of the few drivers in, like, our entire unit. Only one stupid enough to admit that he had a license and go to the school, I guess. And so they randomly called me up to drive a major out to a range at night so he could go inspect it. So I did that. Drove him out in the Humvee in the woods, brought him to the range, brought him back. I had SI on me. I called everyone I knew to call because I got back and it was like 3 a.m. The major left. He went home. And I had all this SI radios, radio mount, that kind of stuff in the Humvee. And I didn't know what to do with it. Called up everybody, nobody answered. So I'm sitting there. I was 18, 19 years old. I was a PFC. Like, I didn't know what was going on. You know, like, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. And got in trouble for that. Wasn't supposed to take. I took the SI into my barracks room that night and then brought it back out, turned everything in. Got the hand receipt back, tore up the hand receipt, and if anyone's in the Army, when they give you a hand receipt, you would know that once they give it back to you after you turn the stuff and you tear it up. But the Army's very black and white. It basically means you never had it. So, like, doesn't exist. You never had it. So you're good to go. Well, they lost the radio mount after I already turned everything in. And I know it wasn't my fault because I got the hand receipt back and I tore it up. So I turned everything in. Then I got chewed out for bringing the SI into my room. Of course, that was technically the wrong thing to do, so I don't blame them for yelling at me. Like, fair enough. But nothing was lost. So I got yelled at for that, and it was like, whatever. So then after they lost the radio mount, they needed somebody to pin the blame on for losing the radio mount. So they flat out tried to say, PFC Rue here stole the radio mount. He probably sold it off to, like, Red Horse or something on Yadkin Road. And I was like, if I was going to steal anything and try to make money, why would it be a radio mount? Like, I get they're not serialized, so it might be easier, but, like, dude, like, why would I steal that? Like, let's be more creative here. But yeah, I didn't steal it. Duh. So they tried to accuse me of stealing it as the scapegoat. They were going to give me Article 15s, People were pushing me around, calling me names, because the higher-ups would gossip about it. Other people would hear it, and, you know, mob mentality, especially at a place like the 82nd, they will double down on you, make fun of you, and just treat you like absolute trash. So I was super stressed out during that time. It was every single day. I was just being verbally assaulted, sometimes physically, and it was terrible. I hated my life. I flat out, it sounds so cringe to say looking back on it, because in grand hindsight of things, I mean, it wasn't the end of the world. But yeah, I mean, I contemplated suicide at that time. It was terrible. Like, everyone hated me, even though I didn't do anything wrong. I sat there trying to explain to my platoon sergeant, like, I did not steal it, and he wouldn't believe me. He got in my face, super close to my face, like literally spitting in my face, screaming so loud, saying he wanted to take me out back and fight me. I was an 18, 19-year-old kid, and this, like, 30-year-old dude is threatening to fight me over something I didn't even do, and he wouldn't listen to me. It wasn't my fault. I don't even know what happened to the radio mount. Like, I turned it in. It wasn't my fault. So he was giving me counseling after counseling, saying that I lied to an NCO because I won't admit that I stole it, and all this terrible stuff. It was horrible. Anytime I went anywhere, everyone screamed at me. Everyone treated me like trash. Went to a range, everyone called me names and treated me so horribly for no reason, even though I didn't do anything wrong. And everyone just took the opportunity to bully somebody. So the only military show or series I ever really watched was Band of Brothers, and there's a scene in there where Winters, I think he was a lieutenant at the time, was getting threatened with losing his weekend pass, and Sobel, I think the guy's last name was trying to give him an Article 15. And in the scene, he was like, hey, just be a man, just sign the Article 15, whatever. But you don't have to sign an Article 15. So usually it's 3 counselings of, like, the same type of issue, and that repeats 3 times, then you can request your commander to give an Article 15. Article 15 results usually in loss of rank, pay, and, like, extra duty, like staying after work hours to mow the grass, clean toilets, that kind of stuff. Losing pay and losing rank, though, that's a big deal. So I remembered that scene in that moment when he was screaming at me, not even saying that I had another option for a court-martial, to go to court to rebuttal it. He just screaming at me, like, Rue, you have to sign it, sign the paper. And then that scene came to mind, and I said, well, Sergeant, can I do a court-martial instead? And that man's face, eyes got super wide, shocked. He had no idea what to say. He had no idea that PFC idiot knew what a court-martial even was. So I asked for a court-martial, and he was silent. And he said, seriously? I was like, yeah, seriously. I didn't do anything wrong. I want to go to court. I'm not signing this. And then he told me to leave. Got called in the next day, and he said, hey, we're just gonna end this whole witch hunt. It feels like a witch hunt. We're just hunting you down. We're just gonna let it go. I was so happy. I was so relieved. But that kind of wound does not heal so quick. That kind of thing does not... I don't just keep moving on in the same spot after something like that happens to me. So I was trying to at least get out of that platoon and go to a different platoon. And I was promised that, you know, I other than that situation, which wasn't even my fault, my PT score was super high. One of the only few drivers. I was always on details, helping out. Like, I was very active. I liked the Army. I liked what I was doing. And they promised me to move to a better platoon. So I was like, okay. And then I was in the arms room, and there was this guy that I helped pass his PT test. Like, I took him on runs and helped him to be able to pass the PT test, and I actually ran with him on the test, too. I really cared about him. I wanted to make sure he passed, and he did end up passing. So then instead of me, I saw it on a piece of paper of, like, personnel and where they're going and all that. he was going to the platoon that I was supposed to go to, that I was promised. So first time in my life, other than basic training, when that senior drill sergeant had me screaming, like the screaming practice stuff, I screamed and cussed out my first line in the arms room. And I walked out of there. I went down. I didn't even have a car at the time. I went down to the RSOF recruiting center on Fort Bragg. I walked in and I was just like, I need to get out of my unit. Like, I went up to the guy and I was like, what can I do? Like, I need to get out of my unit. And he was like, well, you're PFC, so you can't do CA, civil affairs, because I think you have to be a specialist. I don't know about SF. I wasn't trying to go SF, but I mean, I would have tried it too if that would have gotten me out of there. But this one guy rolled his chair, like a chubby looking guy, not like strong, like kind of chubby, but just chubby. Rolled his chair out and he was like, hey, you want to join PSYOP? And I was like, when do I leave? And he was like, next week. And I was like, okay. So then I went to PSYOP selection, no idea what it was, no idea what was going on. I was 19 years old, PFC. I needed to get out. This is a great way to do it during an All-American week too. What a perfect time for PSYOP selection, right? So I went to PSYOP selection, went through all that. And you know, like those moments in your life when you can tell that you're in a key important moment? That was PSYOP selection. I knew this was an important time in my life that I had to take seriously. So I gave it my all. I really tried hard. Got to the end. Got selected. I got picked up. Felt good. I was never really picked first for sports teams in school and all that. I was always kind of in the background, so it felt good to be picked. It felt good to be picked for something. I wanted to leave Fort Bragg too at that point, but I was just happy to get out of the 82nd, out of my unit. After all that stuff happened, I needed to leave. So sitting there, like the family counselor person is speaking to us, those of us that got selected, saying like, yeah, the great thing about Fort Bragg is family stability. And I was like, yeah, I get what do you mean with Fort Bragg though? Like, this is PSYOP could be anywhere, right? Like, we don't just have to be at Fort Bragg. Like, I was hoping maybe I'll get a random unit. And then she said, yeah, the great thing, the reason why I say that is because your whole time in PSYOP, other than like routing assignments, you will always come back to Fort Bragg. And I was in the back of the classroom, super loud. I went like, what? And everyone started laughing at me. And they were like, did you do no research? Like, did you not know that? Like, PSYOP is here at Bragg. Like, and that's it. And I was like, no, I didn't do any research. I just left. I just left as soon as I could. And they're like, dude, you're freaking stupid. Like, you're an idiot, blah, blah. And I was like, whatever. So then I ended up getting stuck at Bragg. I was at Fort Bragg, man, 2018 to 2025 now. So, too long. It wasn't that bad. Showed up to PSYOP. It was a good time. Met some really good friends. Deployed twice. Went to Africa, went to Europe. Did some cool stuff. It's been a good time. Met some great people. Also met some absolutely horrible people. Some straight up horrible people. After getting back from my first deployment, I was very tired. I was very burnt out. And they wanted me to run a bunch of ranges like the week I got back. And I was like, no, I'm too tired. Like, I'll help out, I'll do what I can, but running and planning a whole range right now, the week after I got back from a deployment, I went up to this captain and I was like, please, I'll help out, I'll do what I can, but I don't want to be the OIC because I'm so tired. Like, I'm really sorry that I even have to admit it's very embarrassing to say like I'm burnt out right now. But so she literally wrote in her notebook, and turned out she wrote down what we talked about, the time and date, because then she later used that against me to try to, it was like the 82nd situation all over again in PSYOP, trying to paint me in a bad light, lying about me, telling everyone I'm a piece of trash, removing me off her team. I requested to switch detachments, and they said no, just so that they could kick me out after, and then say that they kicked me out. And I was like, no, I requested to leave your detachment because you guys are horrible leaders, which the following deployment proved that they were terrible. So I made the right call. Yeah, just trash. They tried to put up a whole smear campaign against me. People bought it for like a week or two, and then people started realizing, oh wait, these guys are actually stupid. Rue was right. And then I got picked up to go deploy to Europe with a different captain. Awesome guy, taught me so much. To this day, I think he changed my trajectory in life, in my mindset. Like, he left a lasting impact on me. He was an amazing man, an amazing leader, and I thank him so much for giving me an opportunity to redeem myself, which I did. Ended up doing some amazing things, got rated with an MQ, completely bounced back. I was completely kicked down once again, just like I was in the 82nd. And once again, I mean, just like with the 82nd, I tried something else. I went to SAP selection, and now that time I went to that captain and I said, please give me a chance. And they gave me a chance, and I didn't just give up. I didn't just sit there and cry. And I made something of my situation. I changed. You can't achieve anything without sacrificing something. You should always be seeking to change every single day. And that's what I did. And did a great deployment. Started getting a bunch of college done. Started getting set up with physical therapy. And went on an internship home, being a personal trainer. Got my physical therapy observation hours at a hospital. And now I am getting out, signed up for reserves, but out of active duty because the bonuses are $0, no good assignment options. They're lying about slots they had available to try and get me last second. I wasn't buying it at that point, but the Army served me well. I made staff sergeant in 4 years, so when I was 22 years old. Very quick. 4 years staff sergeant is very good. So staff sergeant, deployed twice, and served on active duty for 7 years, almost 8 years. I would hit 8 years in July. So I made perfect use of my time in the Army. I went above and beyond anything my family has ever done. Deployed more than they ever have. Went airborne like they never did. Shot expert like they never did. And yeah, I made the most of it. Now, would I recommend the Army to anyone else? Yes. And you might think that sounds weird after, and that was, I'd have to make separate videos on talking about everything I went through, because that was just a very broad, quick scope, and even that took a while. Joining the Army for at least one contract is very worth it for several reasons. You get the VA healthcare benefits, the VA loan, the GI Bill. Those are only some of the reasons why I think it's worthwhile to join the Army. So many lifelong benefits, the adventure aspect of it, the contacts that you make. It was all worth it. Overall, I had a very fun time. I learned so much about life. I met the best people ever, also met the worst people ever, and I went to places that I never would have went to if it wasn't for the Army. To this day, I'm incredibly grateful to the Army for everything it's done for me, everything that it's taught me. It helped me so much to develop into a man, learn about the world, and it just feels so good to move on, because I really want to take powerlifting more seriously, and I was getting hurt more and more each airborne jump I did. My body I could feel the shock waves through my body. I was getting hurt more and more and more every single time, and I knew that it had to stop. And with the traveling and the training and the stress and the schedule that's never consistent, it's not something you can do while also taking powerlifting to the highest possible level. If you're military full-time, I mean, maybe some animal out there could do it, but I couldn't. So I chose to leave to pursue physical therapy school, which is my passion. I want to do that. I want to help people be more comfortable in their bodies, work with their injuries, and live healthier lives. I want to do stuff that involves a gym. Another big dream of mine is to open up a powerlifting gym one day, and I think I can do that. I think I really can do that, and I hope hope that I can be a good gym owner and give back to the powerlifting community, which has saved my life. But yeah, I would recommend the Army. I would not recommend doing 20 years. If you were going to do 20 years, I think the best way you could do it would be to join as enlisted, get staff sergeant first class in that range, and then like 8 to 10 years in, you should commission. Because if you're going to do 20 years, why would you not choose to make more money? It's the obvious decision to promote yourself and make more money. Like, I don't want to be an officer, but shut up. Like, if you have that kind of mindset, you're dumb. Like, just go be an officer, dude. Make more money. Like, the choice is there, the opportunities are there. The Army has so many opportunities that can help you in life if you are just willing to take them, if you stop being lazy and stop giving excuses and stop talking about stuff and just doing it, put it in the packet and try it. Like, walk down to that RSOF center and just ask to go. What if I never asked to go? How would my life have been then? Would I have deployed with those guys? Would something have happened? Would even worse stuff have happened to me? Maybe. They all hated me even more after I got selected, because then they were super upset that I was like better than them. Which I built different, I guess. But at the end of the day, you just got to keep trying. And so yeah, I would recommend the Army. One contract, get your benefits, get all that, go to school, go do something else. But if you are going to stay in, you should commission. But I'm super excited now to go to Houston and get into a different mindset, work out around some seriously strong guys, see some serious strong gyms here, best gyms ever in Houston for sure. Start learning more, and I got one life on this world, and I want to spend it getting stronger, no matter what that looks like. So I'm going to keep going in life, doing whatever I want to do, joining the reserves. I'm going to be in the Army on my terms. If I want to activate myself on AGR sometime, I can do that, and I can choose where I want to go. But the opportunities are out there if you're not too lazy for it. Overall, it was a good experience. Met some lifelong friends that I still talk to every single day. And I will say it feels very weird right now, driving further and further away from Fort Bragg for the last time, but it's good. It's good. I feel the weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I'm sure the path ahead will not be easy. It won't be as solidified as the Army. Paychecks won't always be there like it was at the Army, but it's my choice, and I'm doing what I want to do. And it's the first time I've had that since I was 17. But I love the Army. I love what it did for me. I have no regrets. I tried absolutely everything in my power to be the best thing that I could be in the Army, and I did. I exceeded my own expectations. Going into it when I was 17 years old, swearing in, I did not think I would have gotten to where I did. It was a great time. It was an adventure. I don't know. Words don't do it justice for how much of an adventure that it was. It changed my life. There's a lot of things I probably would never talk about. Not all bad things. Some good things I like to keep to myself too. Yeah, it made me who I was. I'll always hold that very dear to my heart. But yeah, huge thank you to everyone, all my friends that kept me going, all my friends in the gym that taught me so much about life, training, being passionate about something. A lot of people might think powerlifting's stupid. It's not that serious. No, you just don't get it. You can say that about anything in life, but it is that serious to me. I take it very seriously every single day. I train my absolute hardest, and I want to take it to the highest level that I can, and I think I can do that now. I know I can do that now. And so yeah, if you're in the Army now, you want to get out, do not get out unless you have a plan. You know what you want to do. You know what you want to get out of life by getting out. If you're unsure, you're just like, yeah, I'm getting out, but like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Stay in. Don't get out. Don't get out until you know exactly. I'm not saying a general idea like, oh, I might go try and work somewhere like this. No. I'm going to go work here. I'm going to do this. This is my plan. You need to be at that stage to get out of the Army. I've seen so many people have no idea what they're going to do, and they get out, and then they just waste 2 to 3 years of their lives getting themselves comfortable when they could have already planned all this out in the Army while making more money, and then been in a way better situation getting out. Probably already had their bachelor's if they used their tuition assistance online and gotten it before getting out, and they'd be in a way better spot. Use your tuition assistance, do your online classes, at least always be in one college class, and set up reoccurring payment on your Robinhood, Vanguard, whatever stock thing that you have, putting at least $5 a day into an index fund. Just set it on there, forget about it. Also, give into your TSP, your thrift saving plan for the Army. Do those things, eat at the DFAC. I know it sucks. Eat at the DFAC, save your money. Get a cheap car. I got a Nissan Sentra. It goes vroom. It takes me to Chipotle. It takes me to the gym. Did I get made fun of when I bought it? Yeah. Did the guys that make fun of me with their Camaros, are they still paying those off? Yeah. I own this thing, and it does the same thing those do. And I'm not saying not to get nice cars, but we definitely... You can Google our paychecks. Everyone knows how much we make. As privates in the barracks, you definitely did not have the money to be spending on something like a Camaro. Like, especially for our first car, man. Just get a Honda or a Toyota, or like I did, a Nissan Sentra. Like, get boring with it, dude. Get a better car later on in life. Make smart decisions, man. $5 a day into an index fund. Give into your thrift savings plan. Eat at the DFAC. Buy a simple car. You know, just be smart. Use your time in the Army. Don't let the Army use you. And you can do something truly great with it, and it'll springboard you forward in life anywhere that you want to go. But overall, you know, thank you, Fort Bragg. I have no regrets, and I'm extremely excited to go into this next chapter of my life. Yeah, thank you.